On today's episode, we're talking about the Cuphead Show. What is today's date?
The 27th?
Okay, we missed it.
Missed what?
Pluto's birthday, February 18th, or the release date of a highly acclaimed video game adaptation, an action-adventure series about a globe-trotting world traveler and his companion. I, of course, am talking about Uncharted, starring Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg. Came out in theaters.
We don't
has
do,
about a 6 point what?
We don't do movie reviews.
But February 18th is also the date the first cow flew in an airplane.
Okay, what does that have to do with Cuphead?
Cuphead follows the misadventures of lovable Cuphead and his brother Mugman as they scour the Inkwell Isles in search of fun and adventure, you know?
Yeah, it's 29 miles off the coast.
29 miles off the coast of
Yeah, they
what?
tell you that in the intro song. I think off the East Coast.
Do you know Phineas and Ferb has a higher rating than this show? This has a Y7.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
It didn't even have a Y7
It falls
FV.
in the same tier as Gravity Falls.
Yeah.
It's a step above DuckTales, which just has a Y. Y's for everyone. And then it's 2 grades below Animaniacs, which also uses the rubber hose animation.
PG.
That's PG. Yeah.
Right, yeah. This could have been shown on Nickelodeon.
They had to tone down some parts of the game. Like, there's whiskey mentioned in the game. I think they're playing poker in the game. They're fighting bosses and such.
Yeah, there's nothing like that in this show.
Well, I mean, they deal with death and the devil, right?
Well, yeah, the devil, but the devil is like just a very, very kid. This is the most kid-friendly show that we've done.
That's what I've. Well, no, that's not the most kid-friendly.
Yeah.
It can't be.
Yeah, it is.
I'm searching my brain right now.
No, it really is because there's not even that many like edgy
He-Man?
jokes for parents. He-Man was violent at least. Like that had the TV PG rating. That had people dying in it. This has
You
nothing
die
like that.
continuously in the game. Have you played the game?
No, I never have.
But you know what it is.
Yeah, but
It took them like a ton of time to make the game, spent a ton of money on it. It were these 2 brothers who then like produced the show here. And yeah, the main complaint I've heard from the show is that it's too much like Ren and Stimpy and it's too light.
I think it's too light, definitely. Like the one thing that they always want is like ice cream, and they're just like running around. It was what Smiling
What's
Friends.
wrong with
It was what Smiling Friends was parodying. That's what this show was. In fact,
so there weren't any funny jokes.
No, I mean, you get a couple funny jokes from
gags?
here and there. Yeah, but like for a majority of the series, because I have them rated here.
Yeah, let's run through the series. All right, there's 12 episodes. They've already been renewed for 3 seasons. Each episode is like 11 minutes long. So they're fairly digestible.
Do you want me to start like from worst to best? Because the worst episodes, like it gets better as the season progresses.
First, let's just lay it on thick here. What is the age you would recommend this for?
Like I'd say 6 through 9.
Well,
like
that's almost exact. Common Sense Media, 6, 7, and 8, depending on which rating you're looking at, the parent, the kid, or the actual rating that they give.
If you're a parent that just kind of wants to throw something on and entertain your kid, I would say that this is fine because like SpongeBob episodes.
Is there a moral, holistic message?
For some of them, and then some of them had some weird, murky type of morals, like some that I don't think landed the way that they wanted.
Each episode is standalone. It takes place before any of the events of the game.
There is a minor.
There's a 2-parter, right?
There's a 2-parter, and yeah, that has to do with a minor kind of story arc that takes place, and it ends the season with a to be continued with a cliffhanger. So there's that,
and there's on-running jokes.
Yeah.
That take place throughout each episode.
And one thing that I did like about the show was that the intro, you're introduced to different characters like in every single episode. And then when you're watching the intro, you see those characters more and more. So you're like, oh, that's where they come into play.
Okay, introduce me to the world of Cuphead.
Cuphead is like 12 years old.
And he's a cup.
Yeah, he's a cup. He has like a full body, and then his face is just a cup with a handle.
It takes 1 second for you to recognize him.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, and him and his brother look exactly the same. Right?
Yeah, Mugman. I think they're like twins.
Basically, he exists for the 2-player option in the video game.
Yeah, and their accent is a mix between like New Jersey and high pitch.
Did you like their accent?
No, it gets grating. It gets grating very, very fast.
Well, they don't really speak in the game, so they had to match everybody's traits to the voice that they gave them, and a lot of people did like the accent.
It's one of those things where I think if you were a kid watching it, I don't think you would mind that much. But
do you mind SpongeBob's voice?
Yeah, like I do. Like going back to it, if I were to watch Dora again, her voice is very high pitched. If you've ever done that, just to see like kind of what it was like back then, I think that it would be the same thing here, except here I was more attuned to it.
All right, so the first episode is called The Cuphead Show, has a 7.9. I assume that really integrates you into the world.
Yeah, we learn that Cuphead and his brother like to go on adventures, and Cuphead is the initiator.
He's the maverick.
Yeah, he's the one that like always is pushing Mugman to like do stuff, and Mugman is more cautious. He's the one that like is always, for example,
if this was Zack and Cody, which would be which?
I would say, oh, which is
But is it an accurate comparison?
Yeah.
One of them was a nerd, and
right.
the other one was
exactly. And then there's also the father figure, Elder Kettle.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't know. He seemed like he was on death's door for a lot of this this series because he's always getting hurt in every single episode, and there needed to be some reason as to why he wasn't in it.
This is slapstick. So is it funny?
Yeah, well...
No, I mean, like, is he getting hurt in a funny manner?
There's one episode that's almost dedicated to it, and I didn't find it that funny. In fact, that was my lowest on the list.
Which episode was it?
Episode 11 is the one right before the finale. It's called Dirt Nap,
Dirt Nap.
And that full episode was the most predictable, and that's the reason why I didn't like it the most. It was the only episode that focused basically on him.
Yeah, Cuphead wasn't in it.
Well, no, they were in it, but it's just like Elder Kettle is eavesdropping on what Cuphead and Mugman are talking about behind their door. And
as parents do.
Right, he even has like the cup up to the door.
Wait, the cup using a cup?
Elder Kettle.
Yeah, does the little cup have sentience, though? The one he's using?
No.
Is this a Beauty and the Beast
No, but
scenario?
there are things that do have sentience that shouldn't. Like hot dogs have sentience.
Oh, that's weird.
There's like a episode that has evil vegetables that have sentience.
Do they eat them?
No, not the vegetables.
Okay.
But that's kind of getting ahead of myself. Anyways, the point in this episode, Dirt Nap, was that Elder Kettle thinks that Mugman and Cuphead are going to kill him because they keep on hearing like about how
that is not a light kid show.
Through the door, Cuphead and Mugman are talking about how he's very, very old and very, very sick. But you learn fast, even before they show it, that they're not talking about Elder Kettle.
Who are they talking about?
They're talking about a little worm that they have.
Oh.
And then, like, Elder Kettle, he goes so far beyond trying to eavesdrop. Like, he gets a ladder, climbs up to the window, and tries to listen to what they're saying through there, and then falls off the ladder and gets hurt. And then when he wakes up in bed, he hears Cuphead and Mugman outside the door being like, okay, we got to bury him now. But they're talking about the worm because they thought that it was dead.
Yes.
And then when they walk outside, they actually bury the worm, and the worm ends up being alive and happy and, like, talks to them. And they walk back in, and somehow in that time frame, Elder Kettle...
I just realized, Snoopy, we've done that show. That is much lighter than this.
Yeah, but I didn't watch Snoopy.
Okay, but still.
Yeah. But Elder Kettle, he has booby-trapped the entire house, and he has, like, these, like, swords, and it's just ridiculous.
To try to kill Cuphead?
Yeah.
Or to protect himself?
To try to, well, I think both. Like, just protect himself from Cuphead and Mugman, and he's like, you still think that I'm old and weak? And then he ends up falling into his own booby traps, like, throughout the whole entire house. And they're like, no, we weren't trying to hurt you. We were just talking about our worm or whatever. And that was the payoff. And that was the end of the episode.
Sounds like a little Tom and Jerry-esque.
Oh, yeah, it very much is. But but it didn't work. And that's the thing. My least favorite episodes, these were the ones I found, like, painful to watch.
Okay, so
I
it
want
went
them to
from,
end as
what was
soon
the
as
best of the best? The range here is from cringy to watch, as you were saying, hard to watch, to is it really easy to watch? You would have loved to have watched it on
it was okay. It was more improved.
So
I saw that there was work put into it, and I did laugh at some of the jokes.
So there was never an episode where you were like, I really am glad I saw this.
Yeah.
This is just a show that could have passed you by and you wouldn't have cared. So your overall rating for the show, before you start talking individual episodes, is
I would say a 5. But the reason for that... So
it didn't pass.
It didn't pass, but the reason for that is because I don't like shows like this. So people that do, or like maybe watching
Saturday
with their
morning
kids...
cartoons?
Yeah, something like that. I would say they would probably give it something like a 7.
Okay. It's got decent reviews.
Okay.
It's got a 7 point something on IMDb. Guardian liked it.
Okay.
You know, and they didn't like the game. Did it make you want to play the game?
Show. They like the show, but they don't like the game.
They like to rub against the grain.
Yeah, I realize that a lot of the time.
And then IGN also liked it. They're saying it's fitting. The show obviously put a lot into its graphics.
Yeah. In fact, the animation is one of the things I do have to get credit for. What I liked was that they put a filter on it, so it was old timey animation. But they also did
like the filter.
They did little tiny things, like they had white lines, like the old animation used to.
Yeah, it's supposed to be 1930s.
So that was the best part, along with the fact that the intro, like you understood each character after a certain while. That was the best part, I thought.
All right, so overall a 5. So you wouldn't go and watch the second season.
With the cliffhanger, I maybe watch the first episode, see where it goes.
So you like the cliffhanger?
Yes.
And what's the cliffhanger?
The cliffhanger is that they're thrown in jail.
Okay, so at the end of every episode, it doesn't just reset, right?
It does, for the most part.
No, I mean, like, they don't get into trouble to a point where, like, oh no, how are they going to get out of it? And then the next episode doesn't
Except
show
for the two-parter, yeah, it kind of always resets.
Okay, so this actual cliffhanger is going to pay off in the next season, no matter what.
It has to.
All right, so they're thrown in jail.
Yeah, but that's at the very end. That was my number 1. But
what were they thrown in jail for, though?
Well, can I get into that episode?
Sure.
So it was called In Charm's Way, and throughout the episode intro, I was wondering what this like woman Cuphead was doing there, because they always showed her character, and she seemed like she was going to be a big part of it.
Yeah.
And then I was like, but they didn't show her for the majority of the time, and I was
Is
like,
that Miss Chalice?
yes, that's Miss Chalice. And the episode deals with the fact that she's able to charm her way throughout the whole entire town and to like basically gain whatever she wants for free. She charms her way into getting free hot dogs and then uses the hot dogs to like cut in line in a movie theater. I mean, she's able to do this dance and almost sing. Their characters sing a lot in this show. That's something else. There's
Are
like
the
a
songs
song.
good?
No.
Okay, so they're not as good as Animaniacs?
No.
Is it a scathing, a cutting, social, like, no?
No,
Oh, okay.
no, nothing like that. There's no politicalness in this type of thing. It's just supposed to kind of be for entertainment.
Well, a lot of 1930s cartoons had some, like, racism and stereotypes in there, so they had to walk around that and make sure they didn't fall into any of those.
There was something like that in this show. But in the finale, she ends up teaming up with Cuphead and Mugman because they're like, how are you able to get what you want, and how are you able to manipulate these people and do whatever? And she's like, okay, I'll teach you. And then they're able to make their way into this cookie factory, which I found a little weird because the whole entire point of that episode was that Cuphead and Mugman were trying to get cookies. But throughout the, like, even in the intro song,
They were just hungry?
throughout the
Because you said ice cream before.
yeah, ice cream.
Ice cream,
So I thought
cookies.
that they were trying to. I thought that maybe it would make more sense that they would be trying to get ice cream, but it was cookies instead. Anyways, by the end of the episode, they're eating all the cookies that they can, and the cops are coming. And Chalice is like, "Oh, we gotta get out of here." And Cuphead and Mugman are like so afraid of the fact that the cops are coming that they run into each other, knocking each other out. And Chalice tries to like
Do
carry.
you see, like, the liquid in their head, which I assume is, like, milk or something, like, plop
Yeah, it's
out
milk.
into the other one?
In the intro, you do.
Is that their brain?
Yeah, it seemed like it almost.
Okay.
And there's a weird part in the series where Cuphead even picks up a fish that like is out of its water and throws it into his head.
Mm-hmm. And we ever see that fish again?
No, we never do.
Oh, no.
So, but anyways, Chalice, she tries to like carry the cops out, but they're like too heavy, and she's like, okay, well, I like you guys, but I'm not about to get arrested by the cops. She ends up leaving, and then the cops throw them in jail, and that's the end of the episode.
So this is the Seinfeld finale.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's going to have a payoff. But that was actually an interesting episode.
Because you wanted to see where it led to.
Right, yeah, exactly.
All right, so that was your favorite episode. What was your next favorite episode?
My next favorite episode was episode 9. That was the part 2 to the sweater. What happens
Sweater
is,
luck next time?
yeah, episode 8 and 9 I like the most.
You're not the only one.
Right, because I think that it's where the like writing was actually the best. Like in episode 8, the main focus of that is that Cuphead, because his soul is almost being taken by the devil, wears this like invisible sweater that was knitted by Mugman. It's this whole thing.
Yeah.
The devil tries, and because he's wearing the sweater, the devil can't take his soul. But you get to see the devil try all these different tactics to try and get Cuphead
It's
to take
ironic
off his
because
sweater.
in like shows like Supernatural or mythical lore, there was like you would tattoo yourself with some sort of brand or something that would like keep your soul in your body, make it so that you
This
couldn't
is
be
exactly-
possessed
yeah,
or
that's-
something.
that's
But
what
they
it is
had to
exactly
make it
that.
like a kid version of that, which is like a sweater
Right, yeah. And so we see the devil try all these different tactics.
methods to get him to take off the sweater.
And that in and of itself was just entertaining as to why I thought
Is
that
the
was my
devil
favorite.
sort of cheeky?
Yeah, very much so. In fact,
Okay.
the first...
Is he cracking jokes?
Yeah, the first thing we see of him, he's like singing a song in the first episode when we're introduced to him. You know, and yeah, throughout
Kind of like a guy you wouldn't mind hanging out with. Seems like he'd be entertaining, you know?
until he's trying to take your soul. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what, yeah, and you see the soul get like sucked out of them too. It's like a ghost type thing.
It's like a Dementor.
You remember Spider-Man No Way Home, where Spider-Man is like taken out of his body, but like
Yes,
and Doctor
but
Strange tries to, yeah, that's what basically this is.
Basically, your ethereal version just like projected outside of your body.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
And we see it happen to multiple characters throughout the show. But
That's like the one way that they always show souls in anything is like some weird translucent form of your own body being pulled out of you.
yeah. And here it was no different. But it was actually interesting because Cuphead, you do care for him. Like, you want to see him make it out. So
Yeah, but Cuphead seems to be asking for it a little bit.
oh, yeah.
He's kind of like Dennis the Menace in that way.
Yeah.
I
mean,
haven't even seen the show.
He's the initiator. He's the initiator, like I said, to all these, like, kind of problems that they run into.
And then
in
it's like
the
Mugman's.
show. Yeah, and Mugman is, like, always trying to save him.
And Mugman doesn't ever get mad about like Cuphead. He's never like, what the
They get,
what are you doing?
They get into arguments, but it's never, like, to the point where they're, like,
Seriously,
hurting each
again,
other.
man? Like that type of thing?
Yeah.
This could have been, because when I remember when not the show, but when the game came out in 2017, it kind of like shook people because everybody was like, wow, this is actually incredible. It's the graphics here, the whole tone of the game, the amount of times you die, it's very hard. It could have been like the Cards Against Humanity type show where they didn't hold back and they kind of made these characters just like really.
I probably would have preferred that, or a little bit more adult
not just
humor.
dark, but like just kind of
just go for it. Yeah, at this point,
just swearing all the time. But instead, they went the complete opposite direction with it.
Yeah.
So you got this kind of cool devil character who's trying to take his soul, but isn't getting there. I assume by the end of the second episode, something happens.
Yeah, episode 9, Cuphead and Mugman are trying to get on this roller coaster, and Cuphead
to escape the devil.
Well, they just want to go on it because they think it's gonna be cool. But Cuphead is like, yeah, I took off the sweater, and Mugman, that's when he's like, what are you doing? Why are you taking off the sweater? You were supposed to never take that off. That's the only reason. And the devil shows up right behind them right after their little argument, but he doesn't know that Cuphead doesn't have the sweater on because it's invisible. So Mugman decides to leave to go get the sweater, and this is one of my favorite parts of the episode because it turned out that Cuphead and the devil, like Cuphead at first is cracking jokes, the devil isn't liking it. Then he cracks a joke at the very end of the scene, and the devil starts to laugh. And then after you get a quick
chink in the armor there.
Yeah. After you get
what was the joke?
They were really bad jokes. In fact, there were jokes I had heard before. There was the cannibal and the clown one. Does one cannibal? Yeah, but anyways, after a quick scene where we see Mugman.
What does one cannibal say to the clown?
No, what does one cannibal say to the other?
Okay.
After eating a clown, does it say funny to you?
Yeah.
That joke.
Okay.
And that's throughout the whole entire series. The jokes are kind of lame. But after a quick scene where we see Mugman trying to find the sweater, that's when we cut back to Cuphead and the devil is just like cracking up at every single thing that Cuphead is saying. And he puts his arm on Cuphead's shoulder just as like...
And that's where he realizes the sweater's not there.
Right, but it was funny just to see that the devil was like trying to be friends with him a little bit. And then, he keeps on touching his arm and is like, you don't have the sweater. And right as he's about to take his soul, that's when Mugman comes like jumping out with the sweater and puts it onto the devil, which I thought was just creative in and of itself because it stopped the devil from, like, he was electrocuted throughout, and then they go on the ride and they have fun.
Doesn't it just keep all the souls that he's already collected in his body, though? Oh, wait, what?
Wait, what are you talking about?
Because the whole point of the sweater is to keep the soul in the body, right?
Yeah.
So once they put the sweater on the devil, wouldn't that just keep all the souls that he's collected in his body?
Whenever the devil was touching the sweater, he was always being electrocuted. So when Mugman comes out there and puts the sweater on the devil is just like electrocuted for minutes upon minutes on end.
So he's just buzzing.
Yeah, throughout the whole entire scene. And then by the end of the episode...
How's he get it off?
We don't see that, but we learned that he has the sweater. And I thought that's where the rest of the season was going, because we were at episode 9. There was 12 episodes throughout the whole entire season, and even the devil says, now that I have the sweater, I can just go try and find Mugman and Cuphead and take their soul. And then even Cuphead and Mugman at the very end of the episode are like, yeah, that sweater, we don't have it anymore.
They can't just make a new sweater?
No.
A new soul-keeping sweater?
No, that invisible yarn was all they got. But then we don't see the devil throughout the rest of the series.
Okay. Well, not yet. I mean,
that
you
was the
got
end of
20-some episodes left, but yeah. So those were your favorite. Tell me about the mid-season stuff. We got Ghost Ain't Real. We got Root Pact, Roll the Dice. Actually, the dice person that's
the dice,
King Dice. Did you recognize him?
No.
Wayne Brady.
Really? Yeah, because Mr. Dice was one of my favorite characters.
You speak again like a lot of reviewers do.
I think he was my favorite character out of the whole series.
He's a character in the actual game, so track.
He hosts this competition, surprise, surprise, like a famous radio competition, but he's really secretly working for the devil.
Yes.
In fact, he does like a Price is Right type of thing. So that makes more sense why it was Wayne Brady. But yeah, by the end of the episode, basically there was this big prize room. They throw these contestants who get like double on these 2 big dice, who get like 6 and 6 or 5 and 5 or whatever into this prize room, and then it sucks the soul out of them. and the funny part about that episode, because that was number 4 on my list, was the fact that Cuphead, he realizes that this is way before that whole entire sweater thing. He realizes that the devil still wants Cuphead's soul, so he tries his hardest, even though Cuphead is completely getting these like answers wrong on the stage, to just try and get him into this prize
to get him to the win room.
Right. Yeah. So like
it's better than if he was like getting them all right and then he couldn't get it wrong.
But Mr. Dice, like for example, he's like, name this song, and they play Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, and he doesn't know what it is, and then he's like, okay, well,
it's
name
the ABC, isn't it? Also. Twinkle, twinkle, little ABC.
Yeah.
The same song.
Yeah, and so he doesn't know it, and then he tells Cuphead, he's like, well, name your favorite song, and then Cuphead tells him, he tells the band, and then Cuphead still can't guess what that song is.
Yeah. Well, maybe Cuphead was thinking maybe Cuphead's seen Slumdog Millionaire and knows how this game works.
Yeah, and he's also like, roll this dice and any number. It doesn't even have to be doubles. Just any number will do. Is practically impossible
Again, isn't
to lose.
he a die though? Like, isn't his head a giant dice?
It's just
so how
big
many times do the thing that they're having, like, if they're a cup, they hold a cup. If they're a dice, they have a dice.
Well, yeah, like, for example, one of the episodes, Root Pact deals with the fact that Elder Kettle is trying to make these vegetables grow, and what the villains in those are just big giant vegetables.
Yeah, I think you mentioned that. Yeah.
So yeah, just throughout the episodes, it's always whatever they're trying to do end up being the villains, basically.
So give me the quick order here. So it just 1 through 12, 1 being the best.
Okay, the finale in Charm's Way. The second one I have down here was episode 9, Sweater Luck Next Time. Number 3, my favorite, episode 8, Sweater Off Dread. Episode 5, Roll the Dice. Episode 6, Ghosts Ain't Real. Episode 3, Ribby and Croaks. Episode 10, Dangerous Mugman. Episode 4, Handle with Care. Episode 2, Baby Bottle. Episode 1, Carnival. Episode 7, Root Pact. And episode 11, Dirt Nap.
Okay, so Baby Bottle. I heard some people who didn't like that.
Yeah, that's where I said, what kind of message is that? This episode, it was the last one in terms of, like, God, just let this one be over already. Because
before it got to, like, mediocre.
Yeah, because Baby Bottle, they open up, like, the door, Cuphead and Mugman, and there's a tiny little baby Cuphead, like, basically.
Is this like the Batman Beyond version where they have a little egg baby and they have to take care of it?
Yeah, but this Baby Bottle was annoying. It was so loud throughout the entire episode, like an actual baby. But yes. I didn't find that funny. I was just like, oh god. And also it reminded me of a SpongeBob episode, one that I didn't like in there or here, where they're like where Cuphead and Mugman are acting like the parents.
Yeah.
And it was just, I had seen it done so many times.
You're saying exactly what I've read, where people are like, why do they keep making the same type of episode for every cartoon that's out there?
And it wasn't funny. It wasn't funny until the very end where the baby gets chaotic and starts throwing dressers and chairs at them.
Oh, so it's like a little Jack.
Yeah, even though I didn't like the episode, it did have one of my favorite parts from the whole series where Elder Kettle comes home, takes Cuphead and Mugman into a separate room, and they all get their weapons, and Elder Kettle grabs an axe. Like a giant axe. I was like, okay, that part's funny. But I didn't understand what the message was because the baby calms down and then they leave it outside a different person's house.
So they have to deal with it next.
Yeah.
And I was that's like, the end of the episode?
Yeah, and I was like, wait, what did that person do? Like, she opens up and it's like, oh, it's a little baby. And it seemed nice. And it was like, well, geez. Okay.
Is there a character named Telephone?
Yeah, that's actually the person who goes into the prize room in episode 5.
No. So when they die, when they get their souls taken from them, do they immediately just like they're non-existent on Earth anymore?
Yeah.
Or do they exist but just like kind of a pale version of themselves?
They turn pale and they're like, I think they're immovable. Like they just their like life has been completely drained from themselves.
Are they in hell at that point?
Yeah, basically.
And can they be broken out of hell?
Can they be broken out of hell? I don't think so. I don't think so. Not
yet.
There's
a new DLC patch for the game, and that's what they've been talking about at the same time as this show's come out. So it'll just be interesting.
So has this show been marketing just for the game?
I don't think so. It's on Netflix, and I think it's just for everybody who likes cartoons and wants to see that type of animation. The Rubber Hose animation, the Popeye, the Mickey Mouse of old. Like that's basically what they're trying to raise reference to in the game. And the thing about having the actual two brothers there who made the game was that they could use them for like an encyclopedia knowledge of everything about the characters. So as opposed to having to look it up themselves.
Past Roll the Dice, which again was number 4 on my list. That's when the episodes you take a noticeable drop off. For example, number 5, episode 6, Ghosts Ain't Real. To me, that was just a kind of it reminded me again of Smiling Friends, where they're in a forest, Cuphead and Mugman, after seeing a movie, and they're just running around from ghosts, and I was kind of bored by it. But the reason why it was so high on my list is because I thought that's when the animation also shined. Like they showed skeletons and they like do a quick little dance scene, and I was like, oh, that's cool. And they showed like a ghost like running after them, and the ghosts were like animated well. So even though the story didn't work
visually
nice it looked great. Yeah. And then episode 3, that's an episode where they try to get on this big boat.
Ribby and Croaks.
And Ribby and Croaks are these two frogs outside the boat that
they're actually bad bosses in the game. So
it seemed that way. They're holding boxing gloves, and the reason for
they're
that
boxers.
is that throughout the whole entire episode, even though I think it's Croaks always like is saying something, and then Ribby goes, "You saying that I did that?" Even though he wasn't saying that at all. And then Croaks out of nowhere would be like, "Maybe I am," and then they start hitting each other. That was the only funny part of that entire episode.
Before Hobbs and Shaw, there was Ribby and Croaks. I think that they could cast those two for those characters.
Yeah, and then
they don't look related.
We didn't talk about Pork Rind. Is Pork Rind?
Pork Rind. Which episode was that?
Episode 10.
Dangerous Mugman?
Yeah. Yeah, he's like, they go to this shop, and Pork Rind is just this shop owner, and then he tells them, because they keep on playing this like ping pong game or whatever, they're obsessed with it. He's like, okay, you guys need to go to Mount Eruptus, and I need you guys to pick up an article or an item for me. And they're like, okay, so they go to this like giant mountain, and the reason why it's called Dangerous Mugman is because Mugman puts on these goggles, and whenever he puts on these goggles, he's like really brave, even though normally, as we've seen throughout the whole entire series, he's not. And
this sounds like Space Jam.
Yeah, because Mugman ends up getting the goggles in like halfway through, but he still doesn't realize it, and then realizes within himself the bravery was there the whole entire time, and they take back an egg, and it turns out that Mount Eruptus wasn't even where they were supposed to go. They were just supposed to go to like this dry cleaning company called Mount Eruptus. It picked up his dry cleaning, jokes like that kind of.
Are there any humans in this show?
None that I remember. No. Okay. Throughout the intro, it's just all different either animals or people like Mr. Dice or the devil or
anthropomorphic, different shapes and figures and stuff. Yeah. Handle with care.
Handle with care. Yeah. So that was an episode where Mugman loses his handle as they're fighting. Like it breaks off.
Okay.
It sounds funny, but you have to understand it was just 10 minutes of like one joke.
Is that like if you lost your ear?
I mean, yeah, basically, because Cuphead like freaks out about it and is like, "Oh, what are we going to do?" And this might have been a precursor to like a conversation where parents have to tell their kids that the tooth fairy isn't real, because that's where Elder Kettle is like, okay, well, you guys just lost your baby handles, and all you have to do is put it underneath your bed, and then you're replaced with a like man handle or something like that.
Your man handle,
or something.
It was called the man.
No. I that's what he was like talking. He was like, you.
It may have just been one of those innuendo jokes that was meant for an older audience.
Maybe but
man handle.
The point is that like they put it under the bed. The next day they wake up, Cuphead and Mugman, because Cuphead loses it throughout the course of the episode as well, both have their handles put intact, and they're like, yay, we have our handles back, like we have our man handles. Yeah. And then Elder Kettle is like, good job, and you see behind like it was glue. So he glued him back on. Oh, wow. And by the end of the episode, Mugman and Cuphead like clink glasses, and then their glasses completely break except for the handle. I mean, like, okay.
But they survived.
Yes, they survived. The show did have funny parts, but like throughout the course of, what was it? I don't know, 2 hours. Like, you have to understand, those parts were few and far in between.
Okay, so there's something to watching it. Every once in a while, you'll get a gag worth watching. All right, well, I think that'll do it for our review. Thanks for listening. We'll see you in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.